Voters in Atlanta in the US state of Georgia have been reacting to what's been billed as a critical midterm election. Polls show the Republicans on track to gain control of at least one house of Congress in a set of midterms that could decide the political future of both President Joe Biden and his predecessor Donald Trump, who's all but announced his intent to run for office in 2024. Some of the voters explained why they voted for their candidates.
What brought me out here to vote today is because of my ancestors. A bunch of my ancestors, whether they were black or women, were not able to vote. So I think God put me here at this particular time to carry on that torch for them.
I want to see the change I want. If I want any change, if anything is happening in the political arena, then I know I participated in my own little way. I contributed in my own little way by voting. So make sure that things get better than it is.
Well, I noticed that some of the candidates that have been up for office recently are into mudslinging and negative campaigning and things like that. And I just don't want those people to represent me at the highest levels.
Joining me live from Washington D.C. to discuss this is journalist Ignatius Annor. Good to see you, Ignatius. And I know it's quite sunny there. It's nighttime here in Nigeria. Now let's dig in deep. The midterm election is key because the outcome, we understand, will determine the political control of the 118th U.S. Congress. Now help us make it clear, if you will.
All right, thank you very much. And you're correct. It's almost 4 p.m. local time on the East Coast in Washington, D.C. Elections began early on today. As far as this is concerned, by 6 p.m. on the East Coast, polls should close. And indeed, 435 seats are up for grabs at the House of Representative level, and at the Senate level, there are 35 out of the 100 seats. It will determine which of the two major political parties, the Republican and the Democrat, who will take control of Congress. At this time, the Democrats have a slight majority in the House, and they are banking their hopes on this midterm elections to regain control of either the House of Representatives or the Senate. It will empower them as far as legislation is concerned. And if it goes in their favor, it would be a challenge to President Joe Biden's administration's effort at passing certain laws in the country. And so the stakes are high for this midterm elections. As of yesterday, we know that over 40 million Americans in 47 out of 50 states cast their vote. In the United States, folks are allowed to vote early or even mail in their ballot. So even before the polls began today, eligible voters had done so. We're expecting that by 6 p.m. when it begins to close, for some states, it's going to close as late as 1 a.m. Tomorrow, Eastern Standard Time, for instance, a state like Alaska. Again, because of the varied time zones that are in the United States.
And Ignatius, this will be the first election affected by the redistricting that followed the 2020 elections and the controversy around that. How would all that affect this poll?
So essentially, redistricting wasn't what was used in the last election. So it's a new one for election officials. It's important to allow the process to go on. I should say that when elections began today, there have been no major incidents, as have been, what disinformation has allowed as far as the 2022 midterm election is concerned. People are voting peacefully across all 50 states, and we will have to wait to see where the results will be leading in the days that follows. Because for a state like Georgia on the East Coast, polls suggest that neither of the Democratic or the Republican candidates could, get the 50+1 vote that is needed to be the ultimate winner. And if that happens, it means that the election or the midterm election will go into a runoff in that particular state alone, which will happen on December the 3rd. So these are some of the dynamics that are ongoing in these year's midterm elections.
Well, Ignatius, talking about dynamics or the dynamics of this election, before I let you go, in these elections, I understand Republicans are chasing a congressional majority, which may paralyze President Biden's agenda and serve as a springboard for another White House, possibly run by Donald Trump. Paint for us a picture about expectations so far.
So as of this time, we have not heard of anyone by former President Donald Trump. He did say over the weekend when he was campaigning in Iowa that he will be making a big announcement come November the 15th. And analysts think that such a statement could essentially mean that he plans to run again for the third time in 2024. President Joe Biden is also banking his hope on the infrastructure law that was passed, how he handled the pandemic, his contributions for Ukraine in the face of Russia's aggression on that eastern part of Europe, to essentially get the opportunity to lead the country. He has not also stated categorically that he is going to run, but also has said, there's a likelihood of him running. And so we're not able to say that categorically as of now. This morning, President Biden told reporters when he was coming from Maryland, back from campaigning for one of the Democratic candidates, that it will be tough for the Democratic Party to regain one of the seats in Congress, but he's very optimistic that the party can pull through. Like I said, the Democrats have a slight majority and they are banking their hopes on some of the achievements that they've made, including a promise to codify the abortion rights as a law of the land, following the June overturning of that law by the Supreme Court of the United States.
All right,
of America.
Ignatius, I'd like to thank you for your time, Ignatius Annor.
Thank you.